The Legend of Zelda is a series of games that I hold really close to my heart, with Ocarina of Time actually being the reason I wanted to and did learn how to read. I think you can tell that these games are really special to me. The placements of some of the games might be a little strange, and I won't be doing an honorable mention segment on this list due to a couple reasons. The first being a couple of games I just don't like, and the rest being games I haven't played. There are 2 games on this list that I haven't beaten, going against my rule of needing to beat the games, but in order to have a 10 list, I instead placed them pretty low. Those would most likely be the placements of those games anyway, honestly. So let's get into this list. This game was incredibly fun to play, although I did not complete it. I never really got the full experience either, maybe playing with at the most 3 people, but it was still a blast to play through. Mostly what I remember about this game was the difficulty, as I usually played through the story of the game by myself, although it might have just been my absolute stupidity as a child playing through the levels, dying many times. This made it on the list, though, through how much fun I had comparatively to a couple of other Zelda games that I played that only held my interest for so long, or just made me frustrated, which I might try to get through one to review someday. Another game I didn't fully complete, but nevertheless still had a ton of fun playing through. I actually didn't appreciate the aesthetics of this game until I played through Minish Cap, gaining a much bigger appreciation upon replaying the game. Still didn't finish, but not through lack of trying, more so lack of skill and getting distracted by a lot of other things going on at the time. I do want to play it again soon, so I can enjoy a piece of my childhood again. I had a lot of fun with this game. After stopping and picking the game back up years later, it was a little jarring to remember that the only way to attack was by using the stylus, but all came together and made sense quickly again. The entire train system in the game kept me going a lot, as the story was kind of a rehash of Phantom Hourglass, I felt. There were some strong points throughout the story, though, that kept me interested in needing to fill in the map, made me want to explore the entirety of it, wanting to find all the secret nooks and crannies I could get to. This game has a really special place in my heart as the game that made me want to read, as well as the first Legend of Zelda game I ever played. I really had a fun time playing through it, but I think the story is really bland for the time. It's pretty much a moot concept, as most Legend of Zelda games have you save the princess by the end, which is just a tired plot point to me. The gameplay is pretty great though, that I can't say anything against, as I had a great time playing, even if I did die so many times. The puzzles were just enough that I was able to get through the game, being, as I said before, as a dumb kid. There are plenty of extras in this that will keep you playing for hours and hours. Hyrule Warriors was really fun due to the fact that it changed up the formula a lot, which I really needed a break from the series at that point. And this was definitely a fun side game, with so much to do even after the story is over, as I feel the story is kind of a tutorial to the adventure mode, which is a really challenging mode themed after different Zelda games, giving you access to more outfits, items, characters, and other things. This was also the game to first feature the female Linkle. The combat is hard-paced as well, while generally still being fun, but be prepared for a lot of losses with this game. While I do like Hyrule Warriors for changing the formula, it's for all purposes a side game that isn't actually connected to the honestly loose thread story that the series is connected by. I feel that as a main title, it's a good game, but not an amazing Zelda game, but it still hits my top 5. The reason I don't think it's a good Zelda game is due to the fact that it doesn't play like previous Zelda games, missing true dungeons. I felt more or less like I was shambling around than actually advancing, which there are only 4 places in the entire game that advance the story. With that being said, everything else is a joy to play through, as I find exploration really engaging in games like these. I probably still haven't explored everything there was, and I finished the map, only missing a handful of the Zelda and Link memories, which the story for this game I find interesting but tired at the same time with a rather lacking ending. But like I said, the fun I had exploring, encountering the people of the world, and the light humor of this game had made me enjoy my time playing through immensely. I think Twilight Princess was the Zelda game I was most hyped for. I followed its creation process through Nintendo Power, getting the demo disc as well as a cool little poster that are now lost to time. I was so happy that I wasn't disappointed with this game, but then again, this was around the time I didn't really get disappointed with games truly, but I've replayed this game relatively recently, and I think I still have the same feelings towards this game. Again, a tired story, but I feel that all the way up to the end, the story is pretty engaging. Even generally, the ending threw me for a bit of a loop as a kid, and I did have some tears drop from my eyes as I realized what was happening. I think the Malamart side mission is one of my favorite side missions, being kind of difficult, messing up leading to definite rage, but the reward of the magic armor is definitely worth it, becoming invincible in exchange for rupees that become generally worthless after you get this item, so losing rupees to the void for invincibility is a really good trade-off. At one point in time, Wind Waker had been my absolute favorite game in the Legend of Zelda series when it came out, due to the fact that this was one of the first games that my parents actually got specifically for me. I got it in a bundle that came with a GameCube, and right when I turned the game on, I was in awe. I mean, now when I boot up the game, I just want to skip the beginning part, but boy, when I turned on the game, I had the most indescribable feeling wash over me. A little confused at the change in style, but I loved it. I still love everything about this game, but the portion that leads to this now being my third favorite Zelda game is the bit where you need to find the Triforce. This took me months as a kid, which led me to being sidetracked by every island in the game. While being a joy to do, it had my ADHD on overtime, especially what I thought as a kid, that games had infinite things to do. You just needed to find how to activate it by trying literally everything possible. While you could say I still liked the portion as it led me to many cool things in the game, it was still a big chore, even with being able to teleport around and everything. But no matter what I'm saying now, I generally enjoyed the rest of the game, but that part always makes me lose a bit of steam after getting through it. Minish Cap is kind of fast and succinct, never overstaying its welcome and staying enjoyable throughout its playtime, albeit for one segment, the damn shell gotcha section. I really am only mildly irritated by this because it's just a side segment that isn't required to do, but it is required if you want to get the last heart piece or 100% the game. It is alleviated a bit by being able to mess with the percentages of getting a new figure, but it is a ginormous grind, especially if you decide to do it after you beat the game, as you continuously get shells throughout the game, 999 being the cap, which is pretty easy to get to with just giving the item no matter if you have the max number of that item already. With that aside, I heavily enjoy the rest of the game, especially the kinstone system, which involves having a small trinket that is a half piece to another kinstone that someone in the world owns the other half. Upon fusing the two pieces back together, it is believed that good luck will come to the people who fuse these. It just so happens that this belief is right, at least for Link, as a multitude of different good things are able to happen, such as allowing Link access to shortcuts, or opening entrances that were once blocked off, or just spawning a treasure chest somewhere in the area. I treat these as the side missions of the game, as it's not required to really do kinstone fusion, except for the tutorial and a late part of the game that they explicitly explain where to use it, so you aren't bumbling around trying to fuse everyone's kinstones if you don't want to. I felt this added a much needed layer of interactivity to NPCs that isn't in many games. Even if it is a relatively small addition, it gets you to explore as well as talk to NPCs that you wouldn't have otherwise. A big reason I like Majora's Mask is how weird the game is, but like Minish Cap, I like that many NPCs become rather important in this game, with most, not all, having something to do eventually, giving you a mask that again is completely optional to do, but the reward you get for completing it is probably one of the best rewards in any Zelda game to me. The Fierce Deity's Mask, which is great, being able to use it in any boss battle after you receive it, which makes the bosses you previously faced throughout the game turn into chumps as you try to complete the rest of the side missions. The main one needing to go back to dungeons being to get the Great Fairy Sword. I actually forced myself to do every side quest in the game that netted you a mask because I wanted to have my first time beating the game being with the Fierce Deity's Mask. I will admit that when I first played this game, I didn't really like it. It took me many times the moon decimating the world for me to even get started with the main quest because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing. It took me so long to eventually get to the first dungeon. Eventually though, after getting through the first dungeon, which took another eternity to do, I started to understand the game and came to appreciate that the difficulty was boosted greatly between this game and Ocarina of Time, with its specialty being an extremely sad story of loss between many different storylines. You can argue that loss is also a tired concept for storytelling, but I feel that just needing to save a princess at the end got tired when I was in middle school, as many games use that same story beat. Hopefully more Zelda games down the line will be just as great, needing me to reassess this list so I can add some more amazing Zelda games to it. I hold all of my favorite Zelda games close to my heart. At one point I kind of disowned it as one of my favorite series, but upon revisiting some of the games, I really remembered how much I love The Legend of Zelda. Might make a list on my favorite series at some point, but I've only played through the length of a handful, so I don't think that list will be coming soon, but who knows. As usual, hope you enjoyed. See you next video.